What is going on, beautiful people? I am Lee Hammett, the diagnosed self-aware narcissist known as mental illness, and welcome to another episode of A Narcissist Explains. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what happens when you cry in front of a narcissist, when you show any type of visible emotions in front of a narcissist or a toxic person. Stay tuned, like and subscribe. Some narcissists and toxic people will actually get turned on by your tears and by your stress. And if you're new here, I'm a narcissist, actually a narcissistic personality disorder. So crying in front of a narcissist or expressing some kind of having some type of emotional reaction in front of a narcissist can go a few different ways. We know that a lot of narcissistic people lack empathy and things like that. So sometimes if you cry in front of them or you express your emotions in front of them, they'll go blank on you. They just don't want to deal with it. They'll go blank and just don't want to deal with this. They'll disassociate or disconnect right in front of you and have no reaction to you. But sometimes if you're crying in front of them or being highly emotional in front of them, they'll try to clap your cheeks or try to put the cheeks on you or whatever. I don't know what it is about highly stressful times or you crying in front of them that turns them on, but yeah, it does happen sometimes, y'all. You'll be crying, boohoo crying over, you've lost someone important in your life, and that narcissistic person will come up to you and just like, whew, I don't know what it's about you right now. You're so hot when you cry. Sleeping with them during these highly stressful times could lead to you becoming addicted. Woo, wham. Oh, and this little piggy had roast beef and ran all the way home. Wham. What happens when you cry in front of a narcissist or a toxic person? Narcissist. What happens when you cry in front of a narcissist, y'all? You can get a few different reactions, y'all. You can get a few different reactions when you cry in front of a narcissist. You just are. You know what I mean? You can't be. So some narcissistic people, like myself, this is me. Y'all know I'm on my channel. I keep it real. I keep it open. I keep it honest and vulnerable. If somebody were to cry in front of me, I typically shut off. I do. I typically shut. Depending on who it is, I typically shut down, and I don't, because I understand the emotions, but I don't like that level of vulnerability in this situation. You know what I mean? I feel like crying doesn't solve anything. I feel like crying to me is manipulation. I just feel like sometimes people cry to try to manipulate the situation, because that's what I would do sometimes. I would try to cry and get emotional to manipulate said situation and things like that. You know what I mean? So that's how it works right there. You get in dynamics with narcissists and toxic people, and you see that's how it works sometimes. They will use their tears. They will use their things to manipulate you with, so they assume you're doing the same thing. So they'll get mad at you sometimes. If you cry in front of a narcissistic person, sometimes they'll get mad at you for crying. They're just like, oh, here comes the waterworks. Here comes this. There you go. Crying not gonna solve anything. Well, guess what? When you were growing up, I'm going to give you something to cry for. So it starts in childhood, doesn't it? It does. It absolutely starts in childhood. I'm going to give you something to cry for. Right? That's your parent telling you that. That's your mom, your dad, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, whoever's giving you something to cry for. They said that to you. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you something to cry for. So the narcissistic person, we shut down in front of you. Like literally. Sometimes my kids be crying in front of me. And you're like, well, Lee, you don't care about your kids? You don't have any empathy for your kids? Yeah, it's so hard when my kids are crying. I have to get up, and this is embarrassing to say sometimes, I had to get up and force myself to be there for them when they're crying. Because I get irritated sometimes with their tears. But I understand that I don't want to ruin my kids, so I get up and just like, look, come here. You're my little girl, my oldest son, my middle son. I'm just trying to validate their emotions, because nobody validated mine when I was growing up. So it hurts and it sucks, you know what I mean? To say that out loud, but it's part of my journey. I care about my kids. I'm doing everything I do is to affect my kids in a positive way. Because back in the day, I would have yelled and screamed at my kids for crying in front of me. Where now I can just, does it still frustrate me? Yeah. Instead of getting frustrated and yelling at my kids, I walk up on them and talk to them and understand and let them know it's okay to cry. You can validate your crying, your tears are valid. You know what I mean? So a lot of narcissistic people, they will look at you and shut down in front of you, get angry at you because they don't like that expression in front of them. You know what I mean? They just don't. And I hope y'all bear with me. And I'll see, sooner or later, I'll sit there and somebody make a video and use that clip right there for my video. Well, Lee Hammett said when his kids cry, he gets angry. Rabble. Y'all be trying to ruin the man that's trying to get people into therapy, to try to validate people and help them understand what he's going through and things like that, you know. But sometimes you get in front of these narcissistic people, you don't get angry, you don't get disconnection. Sometimes you get arousal. And it's just dependent on the narcissistic person. They get aroused when you're getting crying. They get aroused when you're vulnerable. They get aroused when y'all arguing and things like that, and you're being passionate and arguing in front of them. They'll get aroused. you get them aroused and things like that. And I asked my therapist, you know what I mean? I've had to have, like, again, y'all, he might be too much information, but I asked my therapist, I was like, why does this happen? You know what I mean? And it's like, she's like, you're attracted to that you're attracted to the vulnerability. I like, this makes me feel like I'm crazy sometimes when this happens. You know, she's like, but it's not crazy. It's just like, you're attracted to that vulnerability. You don't have, it's like, it's hard for you to be vulnerable, but when your significant other or the people you're attracted to, like, or the women you're attracted to, when they become vulnerable in front of you, it turns you on. Like, it's not sick. It's just like that vulnerability becomes attracted to you and you want them. You know, I was like, oh, I get it. You know, I thought I was psycho when I thought that, you know. But just making how my mind works, y'all. Just trying to get y'all the inner workings of a narcissistic person's mind, because that could be a couple of reasons why they react the way that they react when you cry in front of them. Because, you know, I told my therapist I cry sometimes like that in front of people. You know, I was like, I get irritated when my kids cry, and she's like, who used to get irritated when you cried? You know, I was like, nobody. My mama, she worked, so we had to take care of ourselves. Like, I didn't cry, you know. But I understand what you were saying. My aunt Mac used to do that. She used to get something to cry for. This is in the '80s, y'all. You know, times were different, you know. But just growing up, trying to make sure this new generation, this next generation, grows up better than our generation. Because one thing you get a lot of old heads that say nowadays, what they say nowadays is like, this generation is a bunch of softies, a bunch of psychos, a bunch of, like, who raised this generation? Or who didn't raise this generation? Who didn't raise us? You know what I mean? Who raised us or who didn't raise us? You know what I mean? That's how it goes sometimes when you're dealing with these dynamics, when you're opening yourself up, when you're being vulnerable and things like that. So I just feel like me being more vulnerable and stuff like that, and trying to help myself in my journey, can help me empathize more with people who cry in front of me. I get it. I understand. Do your tears frustrate me? Yeah. Your tears might frustrate the narcissistic person in your life. Your tears might, incite them. Your tears might turn them on and things like that. But don't, like, this is word of advice. If your tears arouse that narcissistic person, don't sleep with them, y'all. Because that's exactly how you can get trauma bonded to them right there. Because those times, the same person hitting you is the same person that's hurting you and things like that. You know what I mean? And whatnot. So you just have to empower yourself, because if you cry in front of them, this is part of it, y'all. This is part of it. You might get a mixed bag of reactions and things of that nature, but you can empower yourself. You can take over, and you can be as strong as humanly possible. You just have to choose. You have to choose strength. You have to choose perseverance and things of that nature. So you have to empower yourself, you know, because crying in front of them, it's hard. It's hard crying in front of a narcissistic person and expressing yourself, because they typically will shut you. That narcissistic person will probably shut you down, just like one of their parents or one of their parental figures used to shut them down and make them feel bad for crying in front of them. It's a cycle, y'all. It is. But that's part of the journey of being a narcissist. But anyways, y'all, know this episode probably a little bit darker than what y'all used to be talking about, y'all. But anyway, like and subscribe for more. Until this is out. Peace.